This is my 1975 Pontiac Firebird. Yep, I said 1975. It's actually got a 1970 to 73 nose on it. And as if it wasn't badass enough, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one-piece spoiler that I got from Classic Industries on the chin of this Firebird. Check it out. Just trying to get it all lined up on there. It definitely sticks out like a sore thumb since it's all white, but what I'm really trying to do is get this all the way back to where this fender line matches. So there's a little bit underneath of there that needs trimmed. So coming in from the front here, just looking up at the way this comes along through here, blah, blah, blah. But right up in here in the corner, right there needs trimmed, and the same on the other side. And maybe a little bit right here in the center to be able to let that set back a little further. So we're going to trim this up and then we'll try it again. All right, test fit went good. I just went little by little and took off little slivers of this back side here up underneath where it was kind of rubbing on that lower valance. Got it to where it's going to fit. I made a couple marks on here to where I'm going to bolt it. This one will get drilled, and we'll actually utilize a factory hole in the bottom of that valance. And then I've got one here that'll go into kind of a dead spot in the fender, and one over there as well. So we'll see if those three will hold it. If not, I'm thinking we'll get something going over here. That's what we've got going on. This thing is going to get cleaned up. There might be a need for a little bit of filler here and there. I don't know if you can see those blemishes, but we're going to block this out just to kind of make it smooth. Next thing we're going to do is kind of get out the sander, block this out, some sandpaper and some blocks, and then clean up this edge here just a little bit, smooth it up. And I'll bring you back once we got this all kind of sanded down to see where we're at. So I just block sanded that a little bit. Got my edges all cleaned up with the die grinder. But you can see I didn't put putty on this or anything. This is just kind of what was underneath the factory coating. But we do have some issues. I think I'm just going to spread some filler on there. Sanded it with 180, and you know, really I can feel some of those imperfections. So we're going to go ahead and get some filler out, get it mixed up and apply it, and we'll block it down again and see where we end up. All right, so we got this pretty much where I'm ready to put some high build primer on it. Block sanded it down. Final grit on the block sanding was 320, so did 80 to knock the top filler down, and then 180 to kind of shape it up and smooth it out, and then 320 to get ready for paint prep. I also got my holes drilled, so I've got a center hole, two side holes here, and then on the very side edges. So I figured out that these three, I can reach down in between the radiator down and reach these three holes. So I'm using the factory stock holes in that lower valance. So here's what I'm using to get a high build coat on here. Urochem, of course, so we're gonna use a primer surfacer with the activator and the reducer. I did a wipe down with this wax and grease remover, and then just for extra precaution, this is an isopropyl alcohol and water mix. So we'll get the wipe down with that and a tack cloth, and then we'll get some of this shot on there. So this turned out pretty good. Everywhere that I used filler is really, really cool. On the sides where I did not, I've got a few little blemishes here that I got to deal with. So I'm going to start with 400 grit in my blocks, and we're going to block that out, see where we end up, but inevitably I think we're going to have to put a little bit of filler in some of those imperfections before we paint. So you guys know how this works. 400 grit, I'm using my round block because the front of that thing's got a little bit of a concave shape to it, and just some water with a touch of dish soap to keep my paper from clogging up. So I'm gonna keep working at this, and I'll bring you back and show you where we're at before I end up putting any filler on there, just so you can see how well this Urachem high build blocks out. So 400 grit did the trick. I didn't even need to step down to 320 or whatever. Took all the texture out, and I'm pretty sure I got all the imperfections blocked out, at least good enough. I really don't think it's gonna be much of an issue here. I do have one little pock, little divot right there. I might put a little bit of putty in, but this looks pretty good. All the front blocked out great. The sides where I didn't use filler, I was able to get it down just fine with the high build. So this stuff's really cool. The only thing I'm gonna do next is go over it with this red Scotch-Brite, which is about 400 grit. I'm gonna try dry, and then we'll get this cleaned up and prepped for paint. And here's what I'm gonna be using. Got my sparkling Merlot Pearl, reducer, activator for the clear coat. So we're gonna mix this up and apply it to our nicely prepped spoiler. Can't wait to see how this turns out. I mean, dang guys, this clear lays down like glass. I've kind of tuned my technique to where I have like very little, if no texture. So I am super happy about this. Got a few little nibs here and there. I'm not gonna worry about those right now. And then kind of when I look in the reflection, watch the light, you know, it looks pretty good, but I did notice couple places where it might be just a little bit wavy, but nothing that is really going to be catching the eye once it's under the car. I mean, I can't even see it on camera, so maybe something right here. Looking pretty good. So from here, we're going to let this set up. Not going to touch it for, I don't know, probably till the weekend, so 4 or 5 days, and we'll see where we're at and get this thing installed. So there's that sweet 400 stroke to 455. Before I showed you the final product, I wanted to give you a good idea where I bolted this thing up. So right there, you can see that silver bolt head. That's the one to the side. There's one in the middle and another one right down there. And then of course, underneath of here, I've got a spacer right in there. You can see it, and a bolt that goes straight up through the fender. So that's got it secured nice and tight. Now let's check out the final product. Thanks for checking out Heavy Pedal Garage, guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are going to want to stick around because coming up really soon, we're going to take the LS Vortec motor out of this '02 Silverado and we're going to stick it in this 1989 Blazer. It's going to be super sweet. I've never done this before, so you're going to want to stick with me, watch me fumble through this, maybe help me out a little bit in the comments, and we're going to make this thing one roadworthy romping machine. So catch me next time.